So, have you guys watched that Beatles documentary on Disney Plus?
No, not yet. I want to.
I have not yet. No.
Yeah, somebody told me, and I thought, oh, it's just another rehash of the Let It Be movie, but it's 6 hours.
Oof! Wow.
Yeah, it's a trilogy.
Yeah,
Holy
well, yeah,
moly.
it's in 3 parts.
Yeah,
3
it's
2-hour parts.
I've seen some interviews around it where the director talked to some people, and it sounds amazing.
It's pretty cool. And you know what they weren't talking about?
What's that?
Ransomware.
They're missing out.
They're talking about calling John at home and the machine didn't pick up. He doesn't have a machine. It's one phone and he's not answering. So, hey, guys.
Hey, Carl.
How's it going, bro?
Yeah, I think just a few minutes ago, we all agreed that we want to focus on this one story. Dwayne, you've been spending most of the day learning about it.
Yeah, Christmas came early.
The small food distributor hit by ransomware?
No, not that one.
Let's talk about that for a second. We've got a bunch of ransomware stories we talk about, and unless there's something new and something to learn from them, it's just part of the background noise. Let's just agree there's going to be 5 of those every week.
True.
Yeah, so it's always good to know, like, what are the industries getting hit? If you're in one of those industries, should you be concerned? And the answer is always going to be, yeah, you should be concerned. But
well,
at least it's not just you or just your industry.
This one that we want to talk about, the Log4j exploit, it's every industry, isn't it?
Oh, it's so awesome. It's so awesome. It's going to be raining shells.
Ars Technica says the zero-day and ubiquitous Log4j tool poses a grave threat to the internet, otherwise known as the entire planet.
Yes, and Wired literally had a comment about somebody saying today the internet is on fire, pretty much. We're going to go into depth in that.
So before we jump into this, any of those other stories, are there any calls to action for listeners other than patch?
Yeah, so I think there is. So interestingly enough, there's 2 that I did want to focus on before this whole Log4j. That today Log4j came out literally today. So this is a brand new
breaking news.
Yeah, you guys are going to see a lot of this over the next couple of days. The ramifications are going to be huge. But before today, I had already chosen a bunch of articles I wanted to talk about. Yes, there's ransomware. We see it in food distributors and U.S. government and all sorts of stuff. And we can mention those places. But one of the other articles was a statistic on the longevity of phishing sites. So this is an interesting way to look at fieldandstream.com,
rodandreel.com.
The fact that you can list off at least 2 phishing sites, I'm impressed.
Bassboatsareus.com. No, I'm sorry.
So what's neat about the statistics, and this is an article from InfoSecurity Magazine, is they talk about how a lot of the phishing sites. So if you get an email and they're trying to phish, somebody's trying to phish you and get credentials or cookies or whatever authentication to a site.
Yeah,
they may pose as Best Buy or somebody along those lines, and you click I want to see this. Yeah, exactly. Right. Lots of typo squatting. But what's interesting is that statistically, a majority of these phishing sites only last one day. So they'll send out a whole blanket email campaign to a bunch of people who will then if they pick someone up connecting into the site, and they can pick their credentials and cookies, whatever, and then 24 hours later, the site's gone.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, it's an illegal site, and you don't see sites with major brands, pulling shenanigans, because their brand and their whole business is at stake if they start ripping people off. So having a website with an address that's traceable and all that is kind of, dangerous for criminals to keep around.
Oh yeah, yeah. But
more career advice for the criminals that listen.
Oh, we're gonna have a lot of career advice coming up.
Don't put up your phishing sites for more than 24 hours.
Right, bring them down. So interestingly enough, let's say you're the, unsuspecting tech user.
Yeah.
it actually may be safer for you to leave those ads in your inbox for a day or two before you click on them.
Oh.
Because those sites might not be there then.
Or it would be better to not click on them.
That would be even better. It would be.
I agree. But you know what?
As a can't help yourself.
Yeah.
Free pizza for life. I
think those kind of people come up to a precipice and feel like jumping off and do. So I don't think there's many of them around.
Oh, this is going to be a doozy.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. So yeah, I as a security expert and have been doing this for a long time, I have a hard time sometimes looking at a phishing email and realizing whether it's phishing.
Yeah.
Like some of them are very well done. So yeah, wait 24 hours. Hold off for 24 hours and you may actually save yourself from clicking on a link.
Have you seen that you're getting a lot of emails where it's like, hey, you've got a receipt for thank you for buying this product or this TV, and there's no links. It's all a phone number.
I think I brought one of those to the show early on.
Yeah. And what they're trying to get you to do is they're trying to get you to call them so they can say, oh, yeah, this is fraud. We're going to reverse this. What's your credit card number?
Yeah.
It's pure social engineering because there's no links whatsoever. So there's nothing to get caught.
Wow.
Now, an alert consumer would look at their credit card statement online, or their bank account online or wherever that comes from.
And see it's bogus.
Or say, oh, yeah, I have 4 credit cards. Which one?
Right.
The one with a 3 in it.
Yeah.
The Master Visa card.
Master Visa. Yeah.
I'm a Visa.
It's my Target club card. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. So
anyway.
we agree there's always a ransomware. There's always a thing. One of the things that I would like to mention is General Nakasone, who is the head of Cyber Command, U.S. Cyber Command in the NSA, has now finally admitted that they're starting to hit ransomware platforms that have been hitting U.S. businesses.
Wow.
I believe this is the beginning of the end.
Wow.
Or maybe it's the beginning of the middle of the cyber war because now the U.S. is getting in on the game. And it was all because of the Colonial Pipeline.
Wow.
Because they went too far.
Yeah.
Hey, Dwayne.
Yeah.
I think Pat's on the team. Shh.
I may not be on the team, but I might know the team. Might have shared a room with some of the team.
Pat's like, I'm going to go hunt me some ransomware people.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play.
Shells in the digital shotgun.
So that was the big news that I thought we should mention. But this Log4j thing is huge. What was the other thing we thought we should bring up first?
Yeah, there's a couple other things that we should talk about before we dig into this Log4j. First off, there are 16 million WordPress sites right now that are getting hit.
Whoa.
And the crux of this problem is plugins that are used for your WordPress. Here again, we tell you to patch. So this is just a story of make sure that you're doing the right things. Make sure you're patching what you should be patching. Always, every week, you should be checking if you have a WordPress site, you should always be making sure you're using the right versions of plugins and the software and that sort of stuff. So
friends don't let friends use plugins.
Yeah, exactly. It's just something you should think about. Now, we here at Security This Week always say you should continue to patch. Patch, right?
Patch.
And then an article came across this week about there being a malicious patch for Notepad++.
Yeah,
Notepad++.
Specifically only use good patches.
Right. Only use the good patch. You know, it's funny because every time Notepad++ seems to update like every 8 seconds. And my team uses it a lot. And every time, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Angry Cop on YouTube. Angry Cops, you have to watch it. It's fantastic. It's this I want to say Army drill sergeant or whatever. But he's a very interesting character. But he's always like, whenever he's like pretending to be on a computer or whatever, he's like, "Not today, Russia." And he's got like this Russian guy behind him telling him, "Click it." But anyways, so every time we open Notepad++, it always says that there's a patch. And my team, when we're on calls together, we're always like, "Oh, not today, Russia," and we never click update. And then we saw this article come through, and we're like, "Oh, wait, wow, yeah, there is a bad patch. Maybe we shouldn't apply that one." The moral of this story. If you open Notepad++, it tells you to patch. There's a little yes, I want to patch button, and you can click yes. If you go to some shady website and try and download a patch for Notepad++, you're in the wrong place. Always patch the application from within the application
or within the operating system.
Yeah, don't click on an email that says, hey, you need to update your Notepad++ or anything along those lines. Just make sure you're doing it within the application or from the vendor's website.
And if your reaction is, what's Notepad++? Don't worry, move along. Nothing to see
Nothing
here.
to see here. Yeah.
It's the successor to Notepad.
Yeah. All right. So are there any other stories besides Notepad++?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean,
WordPress.
WordPress burning, tons of ransomware going on.
Nothing new there.
I mean, there's the cross-site leaking, but that's a cookie thing.
Yep. Right. 14 brand new cross-site scripting vulnerabilities found this week. So be careful what you click on.
Yeah. So this is the advice that we give pretty repeatedly. Let's dig into the Log4j. The first question is there a patch?
There is a patch, yes. So the problem with Log4j.
All right, that's not the first question. The first question is, what the hell is Log4j?
Well, that's a very fine question.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay.
That's a very fine question. So Log4j is I don't want to get too technical. It's a logging platform. Call it a logging
plugin
section of code, a plugin.
All right. And for non-developers, this is a tool that a developer of a website uses rather than put up a box that says, hey, there was a problem in such and such software. And here's the codes and all of the stuff that you need to know, Mr. Programmer, because the user doesn't need to know all that stuff. So instead of that, they write to a log.
Yes.
And the log is searchable. It's just a database that keeps track of everything bad, good, indifferent, or noteworthy that happens during the execution of the code.
Yes. All right. And Log4j is used in, we're going to find out so many places by Monday, how many places Log4j is used.
There are many log packages like it, but it's one of the more successful ones.
Okay.
Or the more used.
It's been around since 2003, I think.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
So it's ubiquitous. B, it's the underpinnings of so many different logging packages out there, and applications you may not even think of, like Minecraft, for example.
Whoa,
Minecraft servers right now use Log4j.
All right,
literally, as we're doing this podcast, there are people logging into Minecraft servers, and in the chat window, putting one-line command and getting remote code execution shells on the Minecraft server.
All right, I really don't want you to tell everybody what that is, even though they can.
Starts with a dollar sign.
All right, even though they can go look it up, let us not encourage our customers. I'm looking at you, David Christensen, our listeners. Do not, and I'm kidding, David's sweetheart. Do not.
It's funny. I told my son this tonight. I have a 12-year-old son. I told him, I was like, hey, you played Minecraft, you played the Java edition, right? He's like, yeah, I played the Java edition. I said, okay. Hey, be careful when you open it up. I got to take a look and see how this exploit works. I don't know if it's doing logging on the client or just on the server, but there's an exploit that could be dangerous, give somebody control over your computer.
Now, so somebody can take control of a player's computer.
So that's what I was worried about at first. I'm not sure whether they're using Log4j locally or not, but if they are, then yes. If you see it in the chat window, then it would log it if you had logging turned on. I've only heard of the server doing logging right now, but there's a chance that the client does logging as well.
So you said that he was playing the Java version, so that would look to the user like a regular Windows desktop app or Mac, or they wouldn't be able to tell that it wasn't.
Nope.
Except that it probably was downloaded from the internet, of course.
Yeah, if you're running like the Windows 10 App Store version, that's entirely different code,
or the Xbox
different
version.
Server, or the Xbox version. But if you're running like, you do have the ability to download the original Java, Mojang, Minecraft and use it.
Yeah, if Minecraft installed the Java runtime.
Exactly. So I told him, hey, listen, just be careful. And I was proud of him. His first thing was, okay, I'm going to go tell my friends so that they know they should be careful. I was like, all right, it's good. Protect the community. So he went out and he typed to his friend.
Be careful, though. I mean, to me, being careful is don't use Minecraft.
Well, that's what I told him. I was like, at first I was like, don't use it. And then I did a little bit more research and I was like, hey, they just released a new patch, 1.18.1. Make sure you're running that. So he ran over and he typed to his friends. And then he said, okay, Dad, so you're saying that we could run one command to get access to something like Hypixel and I could get a VIP? Is that what you're...
No, I'm not saying that. Go play.
I was like, well,
shut up. Really don't ask stupid questions, son. I don't know where you heard that.
I was like, well done. When you're looking for a job, give me a call.
Oh, look, I just got a notification. Congratulate Josh on his Minecraft achievements.
Oh, there you go. That's awesome.
Oh, my God.
So it's interesting is that
what's really interesting to me is, do you punish if your son does this, do you punish him or say, way to go, you're on your way to a security job, son?
You know, if you do both.
Yeah, exactly.
You punish him and double his allowance.
Yep.
It's the Kevin Mitnick approach.
Oh my God.
So awesome.
All right. So what's amazing to you? Yeah.
What's amazing to me is so you have this logging component. You go, okay, well, how does this logging component, all it does is write to a log, right? So who cares? How does it then execute random code?
Yeah.
And the crux here is how Java, so the underpinnings here are Apache and Java, right? So if you're running Apache and you're using Log4j, or you're running Java, whatever, the Log4j is a Java component for logging.
Yeah.
And Apache is a web server that allows you to run web-based code like Java.
Right. So inside of Java, there's this thing called the JNDI. So the JNDI is the Java naming and directory interface. Don't need to worry about what it is. But anyways, what it gives you the ability to do on a Java-based application is call out remotely to a directory, so a storage place. So you can call out to a remote directory and you can pull down an object, a class, or a page to run. So that sounds super useful, right? If we had an enterprise server farm and we had a user object that we wanted to always be able to pull down and we just store it on a database or store it up in LDAP or something along those lines.
And scary.
Exactly. Well, if you can load any random object from a random server, that's what the crux of this exploit is you manipulate that JNDI ability to load a remote object. And you tell it to load an object from you. And then you feed it a Java class that gives you remote access to the servers.
Wow. That is huge. And so how many applications and users did they estimate that this affects?
So far, I don't know that I've seen an accurate estimate. Every time I open my browser and look at this, or I literally just open Twitter and either follow me or look at the InfoSec Twitter. And this is all anybody is talking about right now. It ranges from Apple to Tesla to Minecraft to we have a mobile app developer here that rips apart security in mobile apps. And he started looking through it and he said he wanted to flush his Android phone down the toilet. I mean, there's it is right now, nobody knows how deep this rabbit hole goes yet.
Wow. I'm right now looking for, I don't even think I use Java on anything on my laptop here that I'm using, but I'm checking for updates anyway to see if Microsoft has a patch yet.
Yeah.
And they do. Antivirus and then cumulative update preview for .NET Framework. So there's nothing really there that I can see.
Yeah, and you'll definitely start to notice patches. Like I said, the Minecraft team's already released a patch. What's interesting is we have a couple honeypot servers out there that just sit there listening on the internet. So anytime we hear something like this, we go, I wonder if the honeypot's seen it. And within about 15 minutes of me seeing it announced on Twitter, I went over to our honeypot and sure enough, we had about 7 requests already on our web server.
So does your honeypot open every single port? And, is it just does it look too good to be true from a hacker's perspective?
Yeah, so it used to, and we don't do that anymore because that's exactly the problem is most hackers have written code now where they go, wait, is SMB open and is
all these ports
SSH
are open?
It is right. So then they go, nah, you know what? I'm not going to touch that. It's not working.
So you have multiple machines with multiple ports, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Honeypots,
different profiles.
See, I can come up with a
You're
good idea
Carl.
once in a while. I'm not just a dumb musician.
Just not a pretty face.
Oh,
I never said I was that.
Yeah.
I have a face made for podcasts.
So when you look at the requests that are coming through, the great thing about this is it's anything that logs. So,
Right.
okay, I could make a request through a URL. So I go up in the address bar of my web page and I could type this injection code. And I'll tell you how simple this injection code it is. Literally $, a squirrely brace, 15 different characters, and another squirrely brace, and you're done. That's it. It's not a massive amount of code. It's not hard to understand. It's literally one call.
Is there a new character on the keyboard, squirrely brace? I don't know where that is. Is that
it's right above those square
the
brackets?
Crackets?
It is. That's where they keep it.
You need the hacking keyboard.
You do. It's a special key on my keyboard. You won't have it. Normal people don't get it.
And he's got
Shift
the phone
Cracket
button too.
You have the phone button. It's the big red button. I only hit it once or twice.
He also has the enhance button for video.
I get it. So it's shift left crack it, 15 characters, and shift right crack it.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's super easy to run. But it's anything that logs. So, okay, let's take an interaction with a web server. What logs? Well, the URL bar, easily, if I request a page from your site, you're going to log.
Yep.
The agent string. So if I go in and say my browser isn't Internet Explorer or Chrome, but it's
Give me all your money.
Injection string, it's going to log it. Right. Exactly. So it's literally anything that the things I've seen so far in the world at large. One user has set his iPhone name to the injection string. So as he connects to wireless access points that log with Log4j, he gets
That's
remote
evil.
shells on those devices.
Evil. Oh my God.
It's so ubiquitous right now. And what's funny is that the hacking community has literally just touched the tip of the iceberg, because all of the exploits we're seeing right now are calling out to a database, right? So it has the ability to call out to a directory and pull down an object. Most of them are using LDAP. So for those of you who don't know, LDAP is just a lightweight directory that allows you to serve up objects.
Or code.
But this JNDI has the ability to call LDAP, DNS, NIS, NDS, RMI, Cobra. There's like 10 different types of databases that you can call. And right now, they're literally just exploiting one of them. I think you're going to start to see a lot more.
So here's the problem. Here's a problem I can see, right? So you when you said Android phone, you had me worried, because I have an Android phone right here. It's off.
Yes.
Not this one, the other one. But
I was going to say the screen looks on.
Yeah, but if I was to turn that on, like, first of all, applications that use logging on the phone, they have to be updated, and put through the Google Play Store, approved, and that process isn't instant.
Like 5 minutes.
It takes days.
I think it'll take a little time for people to figure out how to. Because the thing is, your phone's not a server. Your phone's not taking requests.
That's true.
But let's say, for example,
control your phone.
Let's say, for example, you're running the Facebook app. Now, disclaimer: I'm not saying the Facebook app is susceptible. I'm not saying they're using Log4j, etc. But I'm just saying, let's say it's something like the Facebook app. The Facebook app allows you to chat back and forth.
Right.
So I, talking to you, could send this injection string, and if the Facebook app is logging using that Log4j, then I can get it to call out and get an object from me. When I do that, it could be a rat for your phone.
And now somebody could take control of my phone.
Right.
All right. So here's the take home, ladies and gentlemen. Turn off your phones, turn off your computers, go away on vacation, off the grid for a week. When you come back, update everything, and, we'll have another show next week.
I went running down. Yeah, maybe Zencaster goes down.
This is really effing scary. Oh my God.
You
know what's funny?
This is the purge. This is like
People
the
keep
purge.
saying that. I think it's awesome. Like I went running downstairs when I heard about it and went to my wife and I was like, the internet's burning. And she was like, what is wrong with you? Like, seriously.
So and we have our title.
Unless somebody wants you dead, you're probably okay. Just keep your head down. It'll blow over. But this is going to be a big thing for a long time because what's going to happen is there'll be some companies that don't even realize they're vulnerable that won't patch. And they'll be vulnerable 6 months from now.
Yeah. And think about the supply chain. If you release an application that's using Log4j, I talked to a bunch of different customers today who have applications that are using Log4j that they've deployed at customers. And they're like, now I need to make sure that they all have the right versions of that particular module that they're using.
Remember when SolarWinds, remember when you're dealing with the customer, they had things like questions, are you using SolarWinds? And if you said yes, then they crawled all over you. It's going to be the same way. Log4j is going to be the same kind of thing.
I don't know. If you asked me right now, are we using any Log4j? I'm not sure I could tell you. If you asked me if we were using SolarWinds, I could tell you.
I'm pretty sure we're not, but there's a couple of places I'd check before I gave a definitive answer.
Right.
Now, if you have your own servers with your own applications on them, running, server versions of operating systems, I'd be more worried than if you were running services in a cloud like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, because those guys, they'll get on it right away.
Yeah, the systems that we would have it on would be you had to log in to get into the system anyways.
Yeah,
and I don't think we're using Log4j for the login.
No, we are not.
Silly.
Well, yes. It's possible though.
Well, but the servers usually have their own logs.
Exactly. So take Apache. Apache has its own log, and
do they
right
log
now it's using Log4j?
If they're using Log4j, but wait a minute. So the first thing they do is an authentication, and can you trick it with authentication, or do you have to be authenticated before you can trick it? No. Dwayne's shaking his head.
Because what you can do is
Log4j to track who's tried to log in.
Yeah.
Or who's visited the site. Right. And at this point, you're like, oh, yeah, the browser was like Chrome and Edge and Chrome and then this weird string.
Do you need a PrivEsk after that? Are you already highly privileged or is it low privilege?
So it's weird. I've seen people talking about the raining shells of access that they're getting at this point. And a lot of people say they're getting pretty privileged access because logs are typically in a privileged location.
And they're writing to a file system, which means it's easier to just give it all the permissions than to give it constrained permissions.
God, I'm so glad I have all my sites in the cloud. I mean, seriously. Because, Microsoft puts out a patch and everything is fixed.
And a lot of the cloud providers are getting really good at finding this stuff. I mean, we started scanning for it we have properties in every cloud, but we were particularly using our AWS account and we were scanning out for it. Mm-hmm. And we started noticing that they were detecting it, just scanning out, never mind even people scanning in towards our sites.
They're proactive.
Yeah, we found companies like Cloudflare and that sort of stuff starting to detect this LDAP string, right? So in the string, I keep telling you, there's like this 15, 20 character string that you type in there is the word LDAP because you're trying to pull an object from an LDAP server, from a directory server. So they've started detecting this LDAP, and the hackers have already worked on a bypass for that, where they say, okay, I'd like you to instead of typing the word LDAP, they type the capital L and then say, set that to lowercase, and then capital D and set that to lowercase. And so it looks like a bunch of code that then sets everything back down to the word LDAP. So there's a lot of bypasses we'll start to see that then there's going to have to be new rules to detect those things. It is an awesome
arms race.
Nightmare. I'm not running Facebook for at least a week. Seriously, I'm not because you know what happens. I mean, people chat you that you've never heard of. Yes, I know, but that's the perfect attack vector because you can send a message to people you're not friends with,
right?
And and if
we don't know if they're vulnerable. We don't know.
We don't. No, and we don't know if there's a log happening on your phone. Is there any way to tell if your phone is using this?
What's great about this is if you want to see if you've been hacked, guess where you'd look?
Have I been
bank
pwned?
Account?
What's that?
Not your bank. Have I been pwned?
Nope.
Now, of course.
What does this module do? that's hacked.
It's logging.
It's logging. So just look at the logs.
Well, okay, but look in the
see it right there.
All right,
but it'll be able.
But Joe User doesn't know what a log is, and certainly on my iPhone, I have no idea where logs are, or even if I have access to them.
So you're right. On your on devices where you might have apps that are running logs, I don't know how you would check some of those. I honestly don't.
Realize the nightmare scenario here is home routers.
Oh wow!
Because if I have a home router and it's using Log4j and it's using it for the login process, all I got to do, or actually, even if it's not using the login process, if it's using it just for the user agent login. All right.
I have neighbors that I really hate. So give me that string and I'll drive up and try to connect it.
Now you know all of his neighbors are listening to this podcast going, it's the guy next door. It's not me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but there you go, pal. I mean, so somebody has to really want to do some harm in order to do this, or are the script kiddies being set loose just to play pranks on people, or what is the real harm that can happen?
I think the script kiddies are going to be going nuts in the applications like Minecraft and Facebook and places like that, where it turns out. I think the more like figuring out what will and won't work is going to be more beyond them until it's more deployed. Like the routers is the thing that scares me the most, because I know how to update my firmware on my router, but it's not a trivial thing, and not everybody can do it, and not everybody does it.
But let's say they can get into your router. What can they do?
Well, then it's game over.
I could. So let's say I got into your router.
Let Dwayne into your router and let's see.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So if I got into your average person.
Yeah, I mean, if I got into your router, what I would probably initially do, just to understand what you're doing in your environment, is I would redirect DNS to my own DNS server. Then I would see everything, every request you're making. I'd see every page you're requesting, that sort of stuff.
Could you get to my personal files on my personal hard drive?
Yes. Yeah. Ultimately, I probably could. There would be a couple exploits either I'd have to use for that, depending on whether you have Windows Firewall on or not, depending on whether you're using like a Synology or not. Take a Synology.
What's that?
Any type of NAS device you might have in your house. Yeah, QNAS, Synology.
So NAS stands for Network Attached Storage. It's a big box that sits next to your computer that has a bunch of hard drives in it. It looks like one big hard drive. It's usually used for backups, that kind of stuff. So if you are looking through your hard drive and you go into, let's say you're a Windows user, and you go into Windows users, C users, your name, and in there you see a text file called hack.
You're probably in trouble.
You're probably in trouble.
So go back to what Dwayne said. If he gets all of your DNS requests and for a week he just forwards them on, he doesn't do anything, but he sees what your bank is.
Yeah.
Now he'll spin up a duplicate of your bank login and capture your login.
Yep.
And then he'll forward you to your login, to your bank login.
Yeah.
And you'll think you just fat fingered your password, but you didn't. And now he has your name and password, and he'll go back to your bank later and do a transfer.
Wow.
So there's all sorts of fun things to do. But coming back to this Log4j,
okay.
What about these network attached devices? We were just talking about a NAS, right? I have one at the house. I use Synology.
Me too.
And I have 100 terabytes worth of storage on there. So I have all sorts of stuff on there. Does that use Log4j? Oh, I don't know.
Got to find out.
Right? It's a Linux-based device.
But it's not on the internet.
I believe it runs Apache for it. Well, mine's not on the internet.
Neither is mine.
But a lot of people do put them on the internet because it is a file accessible.
Why would it log anything? Why would it log anything? I mean, it's your device. It's not like it's owned by some company that wants to go look at your logs.
They log all sorts of stuff for troubleshooting.
Exactly. It's run like a little web server, right? So it has the little web server. You can go to the browser and you can then browse your files and that sort of stuff. So it'll log that just in case. So is it using the Log4j module?
What about OpenVPN?
Yeah. Wow.
It's possible. So because Log4j is a Java logging module, and because the JNDI is a Java exploit for loading remote objects and code, we start focusing on more like Apache and Java than like C++ applications logging to a file, right? Chances of them being exploitable are
isn't
zero.
Android on top of Java?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but iPhone, you're good because they're running their own.
Right. iPhone doesn't do Java. They're too good for that. Java doesn't wear black turtlenecks.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
So it's this is fascinating. We're gonna start to see over the next couple of days, and week, and probably months, the ramification of what's going on here, where people are going to bypass all the security controls that are going to be put in place over the next couple of days. The simple thing is to disable things like JNDI and not allow those types of remote calls. But if you're an enterprise grade app,
JNDI, how does Mama Franklin figure that stuff out?
You can't. Yeah, you wouldn't if you're running like a Synology or something like that at the house that looks like a web server, or even some of the routers. Take any of your routers, your Linksys routers, that using Log4j in the background and running Apache on the front end. I don't know. Maybe it can.
We're still in the early days. This is the scary time.
Well, due to the law of averages, do you think the average home user of computers and phones is in danger of getting hacked?
I would say although it's a possibility, and unfortunately a lot of news likes to sensationalize this. Sure. I would say your normal end user is probably okay. Yeah. There's not much they need to worry about. Make sure you're patching your applications like Minecraft.
But this is bigger than the average. So, right. if you live in a large metropolitan area with 1 million people and you hear about a prisoner on the loose, a murderer, you don't typically
put an extra lock on your door. Yeah.
You lock your doors and you don't really worry about it. But this is bus loads full of murderers that have gotten loose on the internet. So it's unlikely, but it's still possible. You got to pay attention. This is, I guess, the best advice we can give is pay attention to this story.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, there is a lot of POC code floating around, proof of concepts.
For how to do it.
What he means is about 10 minutes.
Code that will explain how to use it and weaponize it.
And we'll use it.
Yeah, and we'll even post it with this site if you want. I mean, there are step-by-step. Here's what you do. Here's how you create the class.
I'll tell you what we will do.
Right?
I'll tell you what we should do is we should continue to post links on the page at securitythisweek.com /details/21, which is the website for this show. And we'll continue to add links about this so that you can keep up with the latest. And if you start at the bottom link, you'll get the latest stuff. Yeah. Whoa.
I think we're running low on time.
I'm super excited, though. This is going to be a great weekend.
Yeah.
Said no one else.
We knew that. We started late recording this week because I'm in Las Vegas. Just finished a developer conference here, and I was busy all day, and it's late where you guys are. So I think we're going to wrap it up. But this is the big story. The internet is burning, and don't get burned, huh?
Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Always a pleasure, guys.
See you next time on Security This Week.